of wide receiver 23, this is an extremely safe pick that carries massive upside even if AB doesn't get hurt. Let's say AB stays healthy for a full 16. He still beats his ADP. So don't think that this is just a, oh, what if Antonio Brown gets hurt pick. This is a, he's awesome, that offense is awesome, get him on your roster because he's super safe and he's going to score you points every single week. If something were to happen to Antonio Brown, this dude wins leagues because he's all of a sudden like a top 7 wide receiver. So he's got a built-in floor and built-in upside. I think he's an awesome pick in those middle rounds. You can couple him with the last guy I'll talk about if you want to go maybe running back heavy to start. So if you want to go like 3 running backs to start, you can pick him and the guy I talk about last, and you're good to go. So absolutely love him in the early rounds. Next guy is another one that I don't think I've drafted in a ton of mock drafts, but obviously like I haven't been able to post, more than what? How many mock drafts have I done? Maybe like 8 or so the entire season. I may have drafted him in a few of them, but he's someone that I definitely want on some of my teams because I understand the weekly volatility issue. That is why people don't draft TYREEK Hill. They don't like drafting him. They don't like drafting Julio Jones because they're going to get like 200 yards one week and 20 the next week. But I think he'll be more stable this season simply because their defense isn't that great and their offense is good, but it's not good enough to where they're going to win a ton of games to make up for the defense. So they're going to be behind a good amount and they're going to have to throw a good amount. And he's not just a deep threat. He can take screen passes. They put him on drags. They put him on slants. They put him on a ton of routes just to get the ball into his hands and let him do something afterwards. So even in the weeks where he doesn't catch that deep ball, he still has that like 5 for 50 floor. He's kind of like Antonio Brown where maybe he doesn't get you. Like Antonio Brown's just such a different case from everyone. But you know that when Antonio Brown has a bad week, it's like 7 for 75. When TYREEK has a bad week, it's going to be more like 5 for 50. And that's not going to kill you. I don't think he's going to kill you, but he's going to single-handedly win you weeks. 98th percentile speed score, 95th percentile burst score, 98th percentile agility score, 94th percentile catch radius, 90th percentile spark X score. He's insanely fast, insanely skilled. I want to highlight this next stat because it is incredible. He led the league in receiving yards on deep passes. However, he was 13th in deep targets. He's not leading the league in deep receiving yards because he gets 1 million deep targets. No, he was 13th in the league in deep targets, but led the league in deep receiving yards. 24 deep targets turned into 628 receiving yards. That's 26 yards per target. Are you kidding me? He had 26 yards per target on targets of 20 or more yards down the field. Keep throwing it to him. That's absolutely incredible. And that was with Alex Smith. Alex Smith, the guy that when TYREEK Hill, you want to know why he was 13th in deep targets? Because every time he's wide open, Smith doesn't even look. He just dinks and dumps to someone else. Well, now he's got Mahomes. That's his first read. Mahomes looks deep and he's like, yep, there goes TYREEK, and he chucks it. We've already seen the 69-yard touchdown this preseason with 3 defenders. He was like yards ahead of all of them. I know it's the preseason, but I can personally guarantee you that will happen multiple times this year. And if we're going to get a guy that's going to have like multiple 60-plus yard touchdowns, because have you seen the cannon that Patrick Mahomes has? It's absolutely amazing. No one can throw like this guy can deep. So you're going to look at your score and he's going to have like 4 for 45 in the fourth quarter and you can be like, oh, I didn't get anything. And then you're going to check again and he's going to have like 6 for 202 touchdowns because it can change on a dime. And these are kind of guys that I want. Guys that have upside to single-handedly win me weeks when the rest of my team does nothing. And he does come with a floor. I see him having an absolutely monster season. I would not be shocked if he finishes top 5. And I think that where he's going is extremely fair. I know he's expensive right now, but I think it's an extremely fair price tag. Next, let's do it, guys. Let's just draft Josh Gordon in every league. Now, I don't have to because you guys heard I kept him in my keeper league, last round pick. But the Flash is back, and I am so ready to watch him. He didn't get to play last night. It was unfortunate. Obviously, he wasn't going to play. He wasn't ready to play. Hopefully, we see him for this next preseason game. But at the same time, maybe hopefully not. I just don't want him to get hurt because Hugh Jackson actually said that he's not going to start week 1. That's probably going to blow up on Twitter at some point. He's not starting week 1. Guys, he'll be in on snap too. It's not a concern to me that he's not starting week 1 with like the quote-unquote not starting. Because who are you going to start over Josh Gordon? He'll be out there. He's going to be dominant. 12th highest hog rate when he returned on last season. This is the same guy who had 87 receptions for 1,646 yards and 9 touchdowns in 14 games. Want to know who his quarterbacks were when that happened? Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden, and Brian Hoyer. You've got to be kidding me. He put up those numbers with complete garbage. Now, I don't want to call Brian Hoyer complete garbage because I actually kind of like the guy, but those guys are just not good. He led the league in yards per reception last season among wide receivers with at least 25 targets. He was second in deep target percentage among wide receivers with at least 20 targets. So he's getting the ball deep downfield. Only 5. This is the issue. He gets the ball deep downfield, but what we've saw him in the past with those 3 garbage quarterbacks, what we saw last year with DeShone Kizer, who might be the worst quarterback in the league, he only had, of his 16 deep targets last season, only 5 were even catchable. It was only humanly possible for him to catch 5 of the 16, caught all of them for 177 yards and a touchdown. DeShone Kizer had the second lowest quarterback rating on deep passes. He's garbage. Like we all know, DeShone Kizer's not a good quarterback. Maybe in 5 years he could develop into something, mediocre. I don't know. But he's not good right now, and he wasn't good last season. Tyrod Taylor is above average on deep passes. Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback in college football last season, the number 1 overall pick in the draft, for a reason. Either of the quarterbacks he receives this season will be the best he's ever had in his career, regardless of who it is. We can be pretty confident in saying that as long as Tyrod's wrist or whatever he had, he's fine, as far as I know. Whatever just happened last night, he's going to be the starter to start the season. I am fairly confident in also saying that Baker will then take over. Maybe it's halfway through the season. But Tyrod's going to start, and then Baker will take over. If you're rooting for Josh Gordon, like I think everyone is, you want Baker being the quarterback. It's just better. He's a better quarterback. But Tyrod is not a dog. Tyrod is actually a very good quarterback in this league and is very good on deep passes. He just had absolutely no one to throw the football to last season. I mean, go Google who he was throwing to last season. Would you throw a deep pass to Nick O'Leary? To Dinosaur Arms O'Leary? No. He had O'Leary, Clay, and McCoy were his best receivers that he had absolutely nothing to throw to. So saying, oh, look at that last season. He didn't do anything. Well, it was impossible for him to. I'm going to chuck it deep to Deontay Thompson every play. When Tyrod Taylor had Sammy Watkins, he was dominant deep. Josh Gordon's going to be kind of like Tyreek Hill this season, except it's also going to happen on slants. Remember, it doesn't have to just be a deep ball. Josh Gordon is going to take a 50-yard slant to the house. He's going to do that because he's Josh Gordon. 3rd in the league in air yards when he returned on last season. That's one of the most sticky stats possible. It takes out a bunch of variance. It could just be bad passing like it was that he wasn't dominant last season. Air yards are sticky season to season. And guess what? It doesn't look like Dez is going to sign in Cleveland anymore. Why? Because he came back. They weren't sure if he's going to come back, so they're looking at Dez. If they don't sign him, it shows us that they are 100% invested in Josh Gordon. If they do sign him, it's an issue. Absolutely, it's an issue. And he will have a harder time paying off his ADP, but he absolutely still can. I don't think he's going to sign there. I think he'll end up signing in maybe Green Bay, New England, or 49ers, like I said in the previous video. And Dez Bryant is still an awesome pick in the 12th round. But Josh Gordon needs to be taken early in drafts, and he's just not. He's available in the 4th and 5th round, and that's absolutely crazy to me. You got to know this guy's talent. It's okay taking the risk that late in the draft because he could legitimately be the number 1 wide receiver this season. So that's it for my love of Josh Gordon. Let's move on to another one of my favorite wide receivers in the league. It's T.Y. Hilton, and Brissett's not terrible. Brissett's actually a decent quarterback, and he's actually pretty good on deep passes. So it's not shocking that he didn't completely tank last season, but we saw his floor. 95th percentile speed score, very early breakout age. He's 28 years old, so he's right at the end of where we expect the best season of someone's career. But the one knock on him right now was we don't draft injured players, and he's injured. But I'm fine with it because we've heard that the shoulder injury isn't a concern. He's going back to practice. he would play if it's a regular season game, and he's got plenty of time to fully recover from that injury before the season starts. He's already back. He's good to go. I'm not concerned about the shoulder. Don't drop him in your rankings, and don't not target him because of it. Because here's the thing. I don't want to disrespect Ryan Grant and Chester Rogers because I think they're both fine wide receivers, but let's be real with ourselves for a second. It's T.Y. Hilton and it's Doyle, and that's it. Those are the only real targets on that team. Nyheim Hines has tried to play some slot snaps, but guess who's completely terrible right now? Nyheim Hines. Dude can't hang on to the football in any way, whether it's like a kickoff or a target or a carry, like anything. He just can't hang on to the football. Doesn't look good at all, so he's not a concern. Grant and Rogers aren't going to take targets, so it's Hilton. It's Hilton. And Luck's back. You know, he was the wide receiver 5, led the league in receiving yards, 1,448 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2016. And just look at the floor. We all know Luck's a million times better than Brissett. Like I said, Brissett's not terrible. And even if Luck is rusty, he's still a lot better than Brissett. And he's going to be awesome this season. So his floor is 1,000 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, that's safe. He's a very safe pick. And we just saw the last time he played with Luck, he led the league in receiving yards. So I don't get any criticism you could possibly have on T.Y. Hilton. I think he's an awesome pick wherever you can get him in the draft. We're not reaching in the first 4 rounds, but if you're in the range of T.Y. Hilton, take him. Last guy we're talking about is Corey Davis. Now, he, you got to remember, was the number 5 overall pick in the draft last season. He was dominant in college, and he is a freak athletically. What happened last year? He had injuries. And talk to anyone involved in football, and you realize, yes, everyone plays with injuries, but a ton of guys play through injuries they theoretically should not be playing through. We all wanted DeMarco Murray to get off the field last year because he was hurt. He was super inefficient. We wanted to see Derrick Henry. But guys just play hurt, and he was playing hurt all of last season. We saw maybe he was starting to get healthy towards the end. In that playoff game, maybe he was starting to get healthy. We saw his upside. The offense last season was dreadful. The last 2 seasons, really, for the Titans had been dreadful. But LaFleur has promised he's going pass heavy. He's going away from that ground and pound offense. What are they doing with Corey Davis this season? They're putting their trust in him. They're moving him all around the formation. Whenever you hear that, it's a fantastic thing. We're hearing it with Chris Hogan. As long as the Patriots don't sign Des Bryant, Chris Hogan's going to crush ADP too. I could have easily put him on this list as well because they're moving him around the formation. They want these guys to be able to play, to have as many plays as possible geared directly towards them. Because remember, some plays, guys know they're not getting targeted. Like, there might be 3 wide receivers in the field, but you know the ball's not coming to you. For them to be able to move him around to the 1, 2, 3, it means that they're going to have a play designed for the slot, designed for the left, designed for the right, and they can just slide him over there. Oh, you've got a cornerback that only plays the outside? Put him in the slot. Got a cornerback that only plays the left? Put him on the right. They're making him the centerpiece of this offense. An offense that has a very efficient, mobile quarterback that's going to pass the ball a ton and is likely going to be pretty good. Look at the weapons they have around him. They've got Delaney Walker. They've got Taywan Taylor. They've got, at least if he can recover from this knee injury, Rashard Matthews. They've got an amazing pass-catching back in Dion Lewis, and they've got a good running back, at least on first and second downs, in Derrick Henry, with an above-average quarterback. I would say more towards the elite, but he's not an elite quarterback yet, but a very above-average quarterback. They're going to put up points. They're going to use him in the red zone. They're going to use him all over the field and in every single formation. The only way Corey Davis does not break out this season is if he gets hurt again. And what do we not do? Predict injuries. I understand he was bad last season. I hear you. He was dreadful because he was hurt all year. It's been an issue for him over his career, having these injuries. Can he get past it? I think so. Usually this does happen to young wide receivers in the league. They have these little groin and hamstring injuries, but they grow past them because they're involved with these organizations for the entire year. They're invested. the whole year as NFL wide receivers, and they understand their time in this league is not that long. And these teams know that when they have this guy on a rookie contract, they got to get him on the field. And when they design their entire offense around him, they got to get him on the field. So you better bet the whole offseason, the whole summer, they are training him to handle an NFL workload. And that's not always the case for guys in college. They're not always ready to handle an NFL workload. I believe that Corey Davis is. I believe that he's a fantastic wide receiver that's going to be the focal point of a very good offense. And that's why I do not understand his ADP being as late as it is, because he's got massive, massive, massive upside. Remember I said earlier in this video, talking about JUJU. If you can get JUJU and Corey Davis in your team, if you can get Chris Hogan, JUJU, Corey Davis in your team, and you can start out getting some elite running backs, that's a fantastic route to go. I like a lot of the early wide receivers, but I like a lot of the early running backs more. So for me, the optimal strategy this year is going to be hammering running back early and grabbing guys like these a little bit later. It's still the early rounds, but try and use those first 2 picks on running backs. Now, it obviously depends where you are, but pretty much anywhere in the first round, you can grab a running back. And then when you come back in the second round, there's almost always another running back that's pretty decent available to you. So after you do that, try and get these guys on your team, because I think that's the best strategy and just the optimal way to put together a roster that has both a really, really good floor and a really, really safe team, but also has massive upside. So that's my list. Let me know what you guys think of the list in the comment section below. But that's the end of this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, how about we hit that like button? How about we subscribe if we're new? Thanks for watching.